So, with you, you went from doing your course, you went from starting out. How did you take it from there to this next level? How did you kind of level up your game?
Yeah, it was there. I don't know, is it for everyone or whatever, but there is this weird period where like you just want to do it, but you're not actually doing anything. And what
Mm-hmm.
I think I was kind of like brainwashed when I was younger. I kind of thought that if you were good, someone would just find you.
Yeah.
Um, and that like if I kind of just assumed if I was good, like I'd already be a singer. But like no one, and it was actually Colin said to me one day, he's like, no one's not. He wasn't saying it in that context, but he was like, no one's heard your music yet, and I was like, oh yeah, no
Mm-hmm.
one's actually heard me. So how can anyone like my music if no one's heard it? And it was that kind of weird thing of like, wait a minute. And then I went for a coffee with another pop artist, and she kind of said like, if a tree falls in a wood, does anyone hear it? And I was like, oh yeah. Shit.
Yeah.
So it was the kind of so for a long time I just kind of was like, oh, woe was me, I must not be any good because no one's no one, I don't have any fans or whatever. But then I was like, there's nothing for them to be a fan of. There's nothing for them to hear. There's
Yeah.
just nothing. It was all in my head, and you can kind of get stuck in your head. So then I was kind of like, right, well, if I want to do this, then I have to release songs. I have to promote them, and then from there, it was just like kind of I don't know, pushing my way through, trying to just figure things out. And like, I have heard it in the past, someone be like, oh, I just want to wait for it to be perfect or whatever. But like, you can't
Mm-hmm.
wait for things to happen. You have to set deadlines. And I'm a like chronic procrastinator in college. It was like up till 6 o'clock in the morning doing my assignments, even though I'd be
Yeah.
looking at the screen for 3 weeks before, and then the night where I'm like, ah. So I like need deadlines and stuff. So if I'm going to say to myself that I'm just going to work on a song until it's perfect, and then record it until it's perfect, and produce it till it's perfect, then like might be a great song, but it won't be out till 2050. So I
Yeah.
have to set myself goals. I have to set myself deadlines, and then set deadlines for the people I'm working with. And like that's kind of the only way you'll get things done. But it was just very much a process of like, so my first song I wrote with a great guy, Rob Shields. So I met him at like this random songwriter like club thing, very cool. And he sang a song, and I just was blown away by it. I thought it was so good. So I was like, oh, why don't we like write some time together? And he like has been around the scene a lot longer, and he was so helpful in terms of like just give me advice, and he knew more. So by meeting him, he was kind of able to help me like do a bit more, and then we produced a song together and released it. And like obviously learned so much from that experience and just what goes into it. And then the next one you kind of talk to a few more people and you learn a bit more, and then the next one you learn a bit more, and then people kind of hear a bit more about you, and then they're more likely to support you when you've been around a while. So it's just, I think the main thing is like take the first step and just keep taking the steps after that, but don't wait until it's perfect. Don't, no one is going to come and save you. That's definitely not going to happen. No one's going to just discover you in your bedroom. Yeah, so you just have to put yourself out there and go for every opportunity that you can, because you never know what one will lead to something. And there's been some very random things that I've done and kind of like, oh, is this worth it? And then it'll be the random ones where you'll meet someone who'll introduce you to someone who'll help you with something, and you'll be like, oh my god, imagine I didn't have that or
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, it's just put
It's,
yourself out there as much as you can. And I suppose you kind of just have to get over yourself a bit and just like prepare to be embarrassed. Like, oh my god, I embarrass myself all the time. I'll probably be mortified after this podcast that I ever come out with. But just be prepared to like, go up to people or like get rejected, because you will get rejected loads
yeah.
of people. And the worst kind of rejection in music I find is not that someone will necessarily tell you you're bad, but they just won't say anything. It'll just be silent. But yeah, so just prepare for it not to be easy, but like just, and you kind of just have to, I suppose, make a decision in your head.
Yeah.
So I kind of realized, I was like, oh well, if I don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. So then I started doing things, and then it was kind of like, it was really hard, and it can be really crap at times, and you're just like, why am I doing this? But then the alternative is much worse. Like if I was
Yeah.
to stop doing music, I'd just be like,
What
oh
else to do?
god, what is there?
We say this all the time, and for anyone that listens to the podcast regularly, this is a bit of a running theme, especially amongst marketers and the entrepreneur side of us. It's like we call it the fear of taking action, where people get so caught up in, I need to have a perfect logo, I need to have a perfect website, and then you kind of have to sit back and go, well, look, you're not actually a business yet because you're not making any money. Like, go make money and then worry about the finer details. And I assume,
Yeah.
like, then in your case, that would be, don't worry about perfecting every little step. Just put it together and put it out there. You're still within your first like 5-10 years of performing. Like, you have time to round these things down and actually perfect them down the line.
Yeah. But the thing is, you're never going to perfect a performance doing it in your bedroom. Like, you have to
There we
do it
go.
on stage and embarrass yourself and, like mumble at this, because I hate talking on stage, and like, but I just have to put myself in that position, and then you'll get over it. And like the first time I started singing, I was like crapping my pants. But now I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's like another gig. And if you embarrass yourself, like nothing happens. You're just embarrassed. Like, it's grand. You'll laugh about it later.
So was that like your biggest eye opener in becoming an artist? Was it just the fact that you can't wait for perfection, you have to just go and do it and take action? Or was there any other sort of problems or issues you found along the way that you had to sort of overcome as an artist?
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely the whole like no one's gonna come and save me thing was a big thing. I kind of just assumed like, someone would hear like, and I don't think I really like when I thought of it out loud, I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. But like, it's kind of something like in your head. I think it's from growing up with like X Factor or whatever. It's like, if you're good, someone will find you. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't happen like that. And kind of when I realized the likes of like Ed Sheeran bust for years before anyone found him, or like, Luce Capaldi is the same. Like, when you actually, and looking back at other artist stories helps me a lot, because I'm like, they actually were working really hard for years before they got anywhere. So that was really hard. And I think for anyone who's kind of thinking about it, like, this start is the hardest. And I remember I went for a consultation. We have like First Music Contact, and they're both through consultation, and I was so like, this is the hardest time because you have no fans, you have no followers, you've no nothing. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. It is the hardest time. But like at the start, you're just constantly doubting yourself, and you're like, I'm like, am I really bad and no one's going to tell me? And things like that. Like, and it's just constant question. But I suppose you have to just think of the alternative of doing nothing, and then your like dreams will never come true if you don't take any action towards them. So you kind of have to use that fear to drive you. And also because I'm a solo artist, I don't have a band, so like I spent so much time in my head being like, why you do this? No one wants to hear your music, blah blah. But so you have to just try it, and it's not easy. I haven't mastered it yet, but just quiet the voices in your head if you can at all. Just mute them. It's hard.